My name is Daniel Reyes. I am 34 years old, and 3 years ago, I died. I know that sounds insane. I know how it sounds. But I need you to listen to this from the beginning, because if I stop now, I might convince myself none of it happened, and I can't afford to do that anymore. It started on a Tuesday. Nothing about that day was unusual. I made coffee, I answered emails. I told myself, like I told myself every day, that this was fine. The job, the apartment, the silence. Fine. At 9:47 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I want you to remember that. I almost didn't answer. Daniel Reyes? A voice said. Male. Calm. Too calm. Who is this? I'm calling about the incident. We need you to confirm some details for the file. What incident? There was a pause. Not a nervous pause, a checking pause, like someone flipping through paper. Your death, March 14th, 3 years ago. We just need to confirm next of kin information before we close the record. I laughed. I actually laughed, alone in my kitchen, because it seemed like the setup to a joke I hadn't heard the punchline to yet. I think you have the wrong number. Daniel Andrew Reyes, born June 3rd, formerly of 214 Ash Grove Lane. Is that not you? That address. Nobody knew that address. I hadn't lived there in 6 years, and I'd never told a soul about it. Not because it was a secret, but because it simply never came up. It wasn't the kind of detail you casually mention. Where did you get that address? From your file. The voice didn't waver. Mr. Reyes, I understand this is disorienting, but I need you to understand. You didn't survive the accident. The man on this call right now is not supposed to exist. Then he hung up. I sat there for 11 minutes without moving. I counted them later, staring at the call log, because it was the only fact I had left to hold on to. I told myself it was a scam, a prank, some elaborate identity theft scheme designed to rattle me into giving up information. That was the rational explanation, and I clung to it the way you cling to a railing on a boat that's already capsizing. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the address in my head, 214 Ash Grove Lane. And by 6 a.m., rational or not, I was in my car, driving there. It took 90 minutes. I hadn't been back since I was 28. The house looked smaller than I remembered, the way childhood places always do. Except this wasn't childhood. This was a version of my adult life I barely acknowledged. A short stretch of time I associated with a relationship that ended badly, and a job I quit in a hurry. An elderly woman was watering plants on the porch next door. I approached her, and before I could even finish introducing myself, her face changed. "Oh my God," she said, hand pressed to her chest. "You look just like him." Like who? The young man who used to live there. Danny. Terrible thing what happened to him. My mouth went dry. What happened to him? She looked at me strangely now, like she was reconsidering whether I was safe to talk to. The accident, on the coast road. It was in all the papers. You really don't know this? Ma'am, I'm Daniel Reyes. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something in her face closed, like a door being gently shut. "No," she said quietly. "You're not. I went to his funeral." I want to be clear about something. Up until that moment, some detached part of my brain was still treating this like an elaborate mistake. A case of mistaken identity. A bizarre coincidence involving a man who happened to share my name. That detached part of my brain did not survive what happened next. She invited me inside, not into the old house, into hers. And on her mantelpiece, next to photos of her grandchildren, was a small framed photograph. It was me. Not someone who looked like me. Not a brother, not a cousin. Me. Down to the small scar above my left eyebrow. The one I got when I was 19. Falling off a bike I shouldn't have been riding drunk. In the photo, I was maybe 31, laughing at something off camera. Standing in front of a car I had never owned, next to a woman I had never met. "He gave me that a few months before the accident," she said. "He used to help me with my groceries. Sweet boy." I asked her, carefully, my voice not entirely under my control, what had happened. She told me Danny Reyes had died on the coast road, driving home from a job interview, when his car went off the barrier during a storm. She told me the funeral had been small but devastating. She told me his mother had cried the whole time. My mother is alive. I spoke to her last week. But when I called her that night and asked, trying to sound casual, trying not to sound like a man coming apart, whether anything strange had ever happened around the time I was 28, she went quiet on the line in a way she never does.